everyone, it's Julianne here for Honeybee Stamps and welcome back. Today we're celebrating the brand new Autumn Afternoon release here at Honeybee Stamps. This release is full of some beautiful fall as well as some coffee inspired stamps and die sets. For my card today, I am going to be using a few of my personal favorites from this release in order to bring you a coffee inspired slimline card. The products I'm going to be using today include the brand new Nuts About You stamp and coordinating die set. This stamp set includes a bunch of adorable little squirrel images. The next is the Treat Yourself stamp and die set. I am just in love with this stamp set. It includes a bunch of cute little coffee cup images, which is perfect for all those coffee lovers out there. I will also be using the Farmhouse check background stamp and the Slimline Sentiment Eyelet die set. So let's get started. In order to create my coffee-inspired card, I'm going to be starting out by stamping a bunch, if not all of the images that are included in both the Nuts About You stamp set as well as the Treat Yourself stamp set. And I'm going to be stamping each one of these images onto some Express It blending cardstock using some Memento Tuxedo black ink so that way I can do some Copic coloring. I am going to be stamping each one of these images a total of 2 times in order to make sure that I get a nice solid black outline since I am stamping all of these images at the same time. Once I have all of those stamped out, I am going to be coloring in each of them using my Copic markers. Now I did do all of my coloring off camera, but I will list the colors that I used here in just a second. Before I do that, I'm going to start working on my background, and for that I use the Slimline Sentiment Eyelet die in order to die cut out a piece of white cardstock in order to create my background panel. And I'm going to be placing that inside of my Misty along with the Farmhouse check background stamp, where I'm going to be creating a nice subtle background using some light gray ink in order to stamp out that farmhouse background image. Once I have the bottom portion of my background panel stamped out, I'm then going to flip that panel around in my Misty, and I'm going to be stamping that image again in order to cover up the rest of the panel. So like I said earlier, I did do all of my Copic coloring off camera, and I did use the coordinating dies in order to cut out each one of those images. The colors that I used today are all going to be listed right here on the screen. I would love to know what you all prefer. Do you want me to just show you the colors that I use like this, where I already have all of my images already colored in? Or would you rather that I show you my coloring, or maybe you want a little bit of both? Let me know down in the comments what you prefer. So once I had all of my images ready to go, the next step is to start assembling my scene together. The thought behind my card for today was that I really wanted to create this tower of coffee cups where these cute little squirrels were running and jumping all over them because they were just crazy for some coffee. Kind of like they had had a shot of espresso and they were just bursting with even more energy. And when I saw the You're a Little Bit Nutty sentiment that's included in the Nuts About You stamp set, I knew that it would be the perfect sentiment to pair with the brand new coffee buzzword that's also included in this release. So I'm just going to start off by adhering the images that are going to be at the very top of my coffee cup tower first, because I want those to look as though they are stacked up. And I'm going to be adhering each one of those coffee cups down to my background panel using some liquid adhesive. So once I get that last little coffee cup adhered down, I'm then going to start adhering each one of those adorable squirrel images. To give my card that little bit of added dimension, I'm going to be adhering each of those using some foam adhesive. And to start out, I'm going to start with the 2 squirrels that are down at the bottom of my scene. The cute little guy with his little nut, and then also that little baby squirrel. They're both so adorable. The next squirrel I'm going to be adhering is the one that looks as though he is running. So I'm going to have him look as though he is running up the side of my coffee cup, chasing the other little squirrel. And at this point, I couldn't really decide where I wanted the squirrel that is like looking behind him to be on my card. So I'm just going to put him off to the side for now. And I'm going to be adhering the last squirrel at the very top of my coffee cup tower. Now I will end up adding in that additional squirrel later on, but I'll do that once I figure out the placement of my sentiments. So here I'm just going to be taking my background panel and I'm going to be adhering that down to a piece of some burnt orange colored cardstock that I have already added to my Slimline card base. And for my card base, I did trim down a piece of some white cardstock to 7 by 8 1/4, and I scored it 3.5. So I'm just going to be adhering my background panel using some liquid adhesive. And then next I'm going to start working on adhering each one of my sentiments, as well as that last little squirrel. I stamped out the sentiment, "You're a little nutty," from the Nuts About You stamp set onto some black cardstock using some Versamark ink, so that way I could heat emboss my sentiment. Also included in this stamp set is the sentiment "Fallen for You," and I used that sentiment in order to just stamp out the word "for," and I also heat embossed that word as well. I'm then going to be adhering both of those sentiments down using some foam adhesive. And then to finish off my sentiment, I'm going to be adhering the brand new Coffee Buzzword die cut down to my scene as well, but this time I'm just going to be using some liquid adhesive. So now my sentiment will read, "You're a little nutty for coffee," which I thought was just perfect with all of these coffee images as well as those cute little squirrels. So once I have all of those sentiments adhered, I'm just going to decide on the placement for that last little squirrel, and I'm just going to make it look as though he is jumping off the top of my sentiment. Finally, to finish off my card, I'm going to be adhering a few of the gold confetti mix pieces throughout my scene in order to tie in with my Coffee Buzzword die cut. And once I get those last couple all adhered down, that's going to complete my Nutty for Coffee Slimline card for today, using some of the brand new products that were just released in the autumn afternoon release. If you haven't already, I encourage you to head on over to the Honeybee shop in order to check out the other amazing stamps and dies that were just released. I will have a link down below in the description box if you are interested. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me, and I hope that you enjoyed my card for today. If you liked this video, make sure that you hit that like button as well as the subscribe button for even more card making ideas. If you're interested in any of the supplies I used today, they will all be listed and linked down below in the description box as well. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day and happy crafting!